Welcome to the Building One Story at a Time podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Katie Herbine.
And I'm Stephanie LaChance.
Thanks for joining us. We are here today with our marketing technology specialist, Paul McBride.
Welcome, Paul.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Long time, first time, long time?
First time, long time.
First time, long time.
So Paul has actually been here with us before in the background, dwelling, lurking.
Yeah.
He is
quietly working.
He is the genius mastermind behind the podcast.
I don't know about Genius Mastermind, but yes, I listen to every episode because I edit them. And what you guys don't get to hear is Katie and Stephanie sometimes just say my name when there's a flub or a question with a guest or something. And I get to hear Paul, and that means that I have to pop in. So I feel like I'm always here, even when I'm not physically here.
We feel like you're always here too. Sometimes we get questions about, what made you guys want to start a podcast? And we were like, well, funny story. It's actually, we hired this new guy, Paul, for our marketing. And he was like, you guys have really good rapport. You should do a podcast. And we were like, what?
Yeah, legitimately, I think it was the first or second day I worked here, I met you guys as part of my meeting the team. And you explained a bunch of stuff to me in a way that I was like, I bet you that other people would be interested in knowing these things or hearing about like how you go about it. And then I think we waited a few months, but then did eventually get here. And now we're like 30 plus episodes deep because you guys have been cranking stuff out, which is awesome.
Haven't missed a week yet.
Yes. Give us a little background, Paul, on your history with podcasting, because we're not the first podcast you've helped launch, correct?
Yeah, no. So I went to school for communications and broadcasting. So I have always sort of tinkered with cameras and audio production, and I've been playing music since I was 5. So I've always been around recording equipment. So I started a baseball podcast with one of my good friends years ago. And it was, we should have kept up with it because it was like kind of before the podcast boom, and we definitely could have like done better, but we flamed out on it because we like got married and did life and didn't keep up with it. And then, so prior to working at EG, I had my own marketing agency, and one of the services we offered to clients when it made sense was we would like launch podcasts with like different medical professionals who maybe had like specific niches and wanted to provide like audience context with audio and video format. And so I've launched quite a few of them for different brands now. I usually try to make it make sense because sometimes people don't need a podcast. There's a few I've seen around like restaurants who have a podcast. And I'm like, that doesn't need to be there. But I kind of got into it just because I was interested in audio production, and then seeing how it can fit into a different way for your audience to engage instead of just like blog content or your website, but giving people who, especially I listen to so many podcasts myself, I'm sure both of you do as well. It's an easy way to communicate maybe longer form things without people having to either sit in front of a video or read because it's in your ears all day.
Absolutely. You can clean your kitchen while you're listening.
Yes. I do that. I love mowing the lawn and listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about, so we know you went to school for communications and broadcasting.
We were listening.
Great interviewers.
Tell us a little bit about your professional journey and kind of like what inspired you to go into the niche of marketing.
Yeah. So I started out in sales. That was not like a conscious choice. It was just when I graduated college, I had an internship at a company that did custom woodworking, and I did sales and design for them because I started to just learn the product from working there as a college intern. And they were like, hey, we're looking for a sales and design consultant. Do you want to join the team? And I was like, I know nothing about that, but sure, I can talk to people.
A job? Great.
And so from that, I've been in sales. Between that job, I got into like software and technology sales and worked with a bunch of startups. And when you work in startups particularly, you start to really blur the lines between sales and marketing because for all intents and purposes in the year 2024, the line is really, really thin between the two. And I became more and more interested in the like psychological process of getting someone to trust your brand, just because being in sales, I've had some really good marketers I worked with when I was in sales, and I would always like pick their brains on like, hey, these 3 prospects are great. What did you do to get them in the door? And just started like asking questions and trying to understand how people that I talked to got there.
Yeah.
And then also started working really closely at my job. Before I started my own agency, I worked really closely at that company, which is a technology company here in Lancaster, with the marketing director, of sort of being the person on the sales team who kind of brought him really specific feedback from like, hey, we're wanting to run a survey to understand this about our customers. Do you mind like heading that up? And I sort of like tiptoed into marketing, like audience research that way. And then was like, I really like this. I think I could do it. And then two of my friends and I started an agency, and now I'm here doing marketing, which is fun. So
yeah,
it was like a sales marketing transition where I just got really interested in the other side of it. And also I don't have to talk to clients all day. Side note.
Just us.
Yeah, exactly.
You also sold shutters, right? At one point, like custom shutters?
Custom high-end shutters. That was my first job.
Okay.
All over historic East Coast places. Philadelphia, tons of it. Williamsburg, Virginia, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm kind of, that position definitely set me up for working here, I think, too, of like a pretty high-end like clientele of people who are like really looking for something where they can sort of pick the fit and finish and design their exterior of their house. We do everything in a way that I really like learned a lot about this industry, but in a weird sort of shutters is such a small accessory to a house, but I lived and breathed it for several years. So
well, it's good that you have that like custom woodworking and then the shutter background. So, making things wasn't foreign to you.
No. And I learned a lot from, it was cool that team, the company had been around for like 20 plus years when I started there. And both the older sales guys that I worked with, as well as just the production team, were so willing to just share information about anything. And I could talk about like louver widths on shutters and like the actual opening and closing hardware and like understanding how it functioned. And I mean, you guys have worked with me, so I ask like way too many questions I don't necessarily need the answers to, but I like to contextually understand. And it helped me get a lot of appreciation for like craftsmanship. And a lot of the guys here are the same way. Like if you sit down and talk to anyone on any of our teams, they're like down to share everything about what they do. And I usually lean on that a lot because I like to learn.
Yeah, actually, I want to give you props because as someone that came in just into a marketing role, you have really taken the time to get to know us as a company, like who we are, our values, our product, who our customers are, our process. Tell us a little bit about that learning experience for you. Like, what was that like? Because it's so valuable when your marketing team understands all of those elements and can really just like be cohesive with the rest of the team instead of feeling like you're just dragging that marketing team along.
Yes, I can talk about that. Well, firstly, it's been kind of nice because everybody here is, as I said, so willing to share their process, especially if you ask or like, hey, I know you do this. What does that mean? And how does it fit into the whole thing? Especially like Rob Zook, I'm going to give a shout out there in architectural, has been so helpful for me, just kind of understanding our plans. And he'll walk through anything with me. He's even like reviewed photos to make sure that the ones we're sharing are accurate to our current drawings. And that's super valuable. And I mean, just kind of by my nature, I like to learn things fully. And I do think in marketing, it is helpful to be able to understand all the aspects of what you're actually helping sell. Because, you're trying to be the front line of, I am creating the storefront on our website virtually for people to engage with our product. And if I only understand that as like a pass through, I feel like that's not the best way to communicate to people what we're offering. I think what's neat about this role for me is I am one of the few people in the whole E.G. Stoltzfus organization who actually works with all of the divisions of the company.
That's true.
Because a lot of people are sort of like, I'm in neighborhood homes or I'm in custom homes or I'm in commercial construction. And I dip my toes into a little bit of everything. So I sort of have this like bigger picture of the machine of how everybody fits together. And I think in learning a lot about the values of the company and the product and what we offer, it's helpful to also figure out who the people who can help you with things are. So, because I'll sometimes get questions and or like someone will send me an email like, hey, can you update this? I'm like, one, I'm not sure what that is. Two, I think I'm going to ask this person because I think they might have the answer. And if not, they can point me in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I think, why I approach it that way, because it helps in so many different ways to understand the company and the background and all the people. And we have some really great players at this company too.
We really do. We have a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the marketing industry over the past few years?
Yeah, well, in the past few years, particularly here, we had COVID in there.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I mean, we're now like 20 plus years into the internet age of marketing. So it's not like a trend that things have gone digital. But especially since COVID, I think that a lot of things have had to become more available virtually.
Yes.
And one of the things I know we have spent time on as a company doing that I've just sort of shepherded further is virtual tours of houses. More ways to engage with physical products in a digital world where maybe you're not able to, or especially, I guess, in our particular marketing industry in Lancaster County, where we have a lot of people moving here that don't live in this state, let alone the county. So being able to present more of your physical product in a digital fashion, honestly, one of the first things I saw that with in early COVID years, because I was still in like a sales marketing hybrid position, was trade shows going virtual.
Oh.
Because people were like, well, we have this thing, we have all these sponsors. How do we create? And they were making these like virtual conference halls. Really cool. It kind of like Matterports basically of like what it would have been like if you went to the trade show. They'd like map it out and put the virtual booths in, and people could like put little videos instead of having a person at the booth.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
So that like blend of physical and digital, I think some people call it phygital. Blended words sometimes for me like make me cringe. But that is, I think, probably over the last few years, especially a really big trend line that I've noticed of just finding ways to make things that you used to be able to interact with physically available in some meaningful digital way. And there's always cool new ones. I know like we've spent a lot of time working on like architectural renderings where people can play with them online, and maybe sneak peeking something we have coming down the line, but some cool things. Just that trend that we are starting to hop on pretty heavily, I think, is that blend of what we used to just experience of going to a showroom or coming to visit you guys at the design studio. We have an online catalog and things like that.
Yeah.
Doing
actually,
that, like shopping while not actually leaving your house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pajama shopping.
Actually, what you're describing, it's so funny. When I was hired, I first was onboarded as a new home sales specialist, and I spent about 4 years of my career doing that role. And in one of my neighborhoods that I kind of inherited, because it was mostly built up by the time I got there, was Southern Village. And there was a big table, and there was a lot map, and there was like little Monopoly house pieces on this lot map.
For the ones that were built already?
Yeah, so you'd put a little green or a little red house on this lot map on this table.
Oh my God.
And it's like a shadow box table,
shadow box, yeah. And when I worked at Landis Farm, like people would want to come and see the model, and they would want to leave with a folder of paperwork, right? Like these people wanted their paperwork, and they were not going to be happy if you didn't physically give them something. Now, when folks come to the model home, we're emailing them, or most of our tools are online now because they change so quickly that we don't actually want to print them. We make so many updates. We're always improving our process, our product. And you can access all of it online. And I remember there was a lot of conversation when I was first brought on, like how much information do we put online and how much do we like keep so that people have to visit us. Yep. But now we just like empower people to allow them to do that pajama shopping.
Right. Like we want the leads to come to us warm, not cold. Like we used to not have pricing on our website, which is just so unbelievably like bonkers to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think an important thing about all that stuff, just like a philosophy I have in marketing, which you didn't ask this question, but I think about it a lot when it comes to things like putting that on the website, is every time you give people information without them asking, I think it builds trust with your buyers, especially pricing. Because for me, I know any product that doesn't have a price, I'm very, at first I'm like, maybe I can't afford it.
Yeah.
If they're not listing the price, it must be very high. Or I question why they're not willing to give me that information. Mm-hmm. And I think providing more information on your website, your different channels, even if it's just like communicating via email, tons of stuff that I know we have assets that don't live on our website, but we send to people. I think those are just every opportunity to build trust because you're giving people information and sort of allowing them to feel like they can make the decision because they have all the information. They'll have to pull it out of you or wait for you to pull your sales tricks.
Yeah, right. That's what. Yeah, it's definitely leads to more trust because you're like, salespeople have that bad stigma of like,
yep, fought against it for years.
So I don't want to talk to them. I want to be able to sell myself and then talk to them when I know I'm ready to buy, so that I don't get swindled or something like that. Not that.
So yeah, off of that, actually a cool new piece of technology we added to the sales marketing department actually a month ago is a tool called Enter Now that is going to, I think, really speaking to that trust and building something where people can sort of experience the journey of an EG home on their own. So Enter Now is this cool tool where some of our models and a few of our inventory QMI homes are going to have a QR code outside where you don't have to have talked to us. You can just go scan that code, give us your info, and tour the home with a code.
I love that. That's so nice.
I do too, because being a salesperson for many years, I don't really like talking to salespeople right away because I also research a lot before I talk. So I'm like, I don't need to be sold. I just want to like sort of check it out for real. And then I will talk to you and have you confirm everything for me.
By the time I'm ready to buy, that's when you'll meet me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I learned about this technology, I was like, oh, we definitely need to set this up because this is something that I think, especially like a model home that's in a neighborhood that is just sitting there all the time. We only have open house hours usually once, maybe twice a week. And giving people the opportunity to physically engage with one of our homes.
Bring their family back when it's convenient for them.
You can bring them back as many times as you want. And that's a great way to say like, hey, what do you guys think of this home? What do you think of it? Let me bring my dad. He's going to have a ton of questions about the trim.
Yeah, right. He's going to want to see the basement.
and you can do that because we're showing them the model in a way where you can actually virtually tour it without having to necessarily contact us first. And that's something I think is really, really cool and fits into that like trend line of giving people that opportunity.
Absolutely. Kind of feel like you talked about this a little bit, but like COVID totally changed the psyche of people and like nobody wants to interact with other people as much anymore. So like I love the idea of being able to go see a house that I'm interested in without having to talk to anybody to get me into the house and talk to anybody while I'm there at the house. I just get to be like, it's quiet in here. Wow. And like
well, that's a really good point about that type of technology too, because I mean, I don't think this is something our team struggles with, but like high pressure sales situation where your salesperson staring at you or like going through with a real estate agent, even like there's a third party to you making a decision that is one of the biggest decisions you make in your life is buying a home or a new home or a larger home or whatever.
Yeah.
And having like a third party, and obviously most people, the real estate agent might be their friend, but in our case, like you could have just reached out to us and you don't know our team yet. That being able to like be in a space and check a house out without having to have that other person there, I think would lower the stress of the process of looking at a home and being able to sort of meander through at your pace and have open conversation with your partner or whoever you're buying a home with.
Yeah.
Without worrying about that third party listening in and
right.
getting insight. And so, yeah.
Well, Paul, do you have anything coming down the pipeline? Any new and exciting campaigns? Anything that our listeners should be keeping their eye out for?
Well, so Enter Now is something that's new. I think we're going to launch that kind of full scale with more homes heading into the new year. We're kind of trying it out with a few of our models right now. The other thing that is going to be coming out that if you've bought a home from us, you're in the process, you probably have already encountered, but is the EG Stoltzfus app, which is through an awesome company we work with called Novi Home. And that's going to be rolled out to everybody to kind of just understand what we do in our process to engage with us. So, I mean, kind of in line with the trend lines, I think we're on trend with a lot of stuff right now. And so there's going to be some new technology. New technology rollout. Some of the stuff is already rolled out, but we're going to start sharing it with everybody at large just so people kind of know what we have to offer beyond, you know, we have our homes, but our process is a part of building a home with us. And we've added a lot of steps and technology to that, I think, to make it just easier to engage with us throughout the process. So that's the biggest, I think the two biggest things heading into 2025 are going to be rolling those out.
I think along those same lines of like having all of the technology and everything that comes along with the app is like, now you get to have our whole team at your fingertips. Like you get to meet everybody and you can talk directly with the product manager or the project manager or the site manager And previously, you may have never met them or seen them or talked to them. And now they're part of your
previously,
team.
Your only interaction was really the salesperson, your site manager, if you remembered to go to the site manager instead of the salesperson, and then at the end, your customer service rep.
Yeah.
And to Stephanie's earlier point of me contextually meeting our whole team and understanding it, getting that whole team is an incredibly valuable thing to being able to ask questions and have the person who knows the most about it answer you on this app. So it's, again, building trust throughout the process, not just before you make a decision to buy with us. I think it's a really cool way. If I was buying a home and I knew I could talk to every person who is the expert at every step of the way, I would feel immensely satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Because I ask a lot of questions. So.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah. But I also trust experts. So I'm also one of those. That's a good blend, right?
It is a good blend. Yeah.
Very good blend.
Do we have any big in-person campaigns coming down the road?
That's a great question, and I didn't think of it earlier when you asked me the question about campaigns. We do have we have a new neighborhood that is opening next spring called Nissley Run, and it's in Dauphin County. And we actually have coming up here in a few days an in-person event on October 5th. It is at the Greystone Public House, which is like just right down the street from the neighborhood. And it is an RSVP event, so I'll drop a link in here since I will be editing this. And if you're interested, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to kind of learn about the neighborhood, learn about the plans that we are going to be making available that are not publicly out yet, as well as kind of getting first pick of, there's not a ton of home sites in this neighborhood.
No, and they're really nice home sites too. I cannot emphasize, there's a cul-de-sac. There are existing tree lines. It's a beautiful piece of land.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool spots. Like even not in the cul-de-sac, there's like the view of like the farmland and the mountain view.
It's going to be so nice, guys.
If you check out the video I made, there's some good drone footage of that. So there's cool stuff to see.
We love some drone footage.
Yeah, so if you're interested or you're interested in an EG neighborhood at all, that neighborhood is going to be opening up, and that reveal event is going to be coming up here on October 5th. So feel free to come visit us and get to meet some of the faces of the podcast as well.
Right. I will be there.
Yes. Stephanie will not. Why will Stephanie not be there?
So I will not be there at the reveal event, as regretful as I am. We're also going to be taking a week off of the podcast. So just a heads up, there will not be a Wednesday episode because I am getting married and I will be gone on my honeymoon.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes. So there'll be a little gap here. We're going to take a week off while Stephanie is celebrating her new nuptials. Is that the word?
I was going to say her nuptials.
Nuptials. It's an old person word, but put it in there.
Let's bring it back.
Yes. And so you'll see us back in October, I guess, after the Nissley Run event. So,
We'll tell you how it went.
Yeah, we'll tell you how it went.
All right, perfect. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep. Happy to be here. And
we didn't say your name nearly as much as we usually do.
We didn't. That's awesome because I was here for it.
Only when we were dressing you.
Yeah.
But have a good week, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Happy wedding, Steph.